All right, everybody. Happy Tuesday today. Welcome to another online class. For those that are joining or are joining in and out of this online class, as always, it will be recorded and posted to my website after the fact. Okay, let me just double check. Yeah, we're all good. Okay, so I'm going to start today by sharing my screen with you guys. And the first thing I want to talk about today is an exciting announcement that I should have also sent you in an email today. And there's a post on my website that there's now a series of guest lecturers that I'm setting up for the future for I think will be exciting for you guys. There's a form you can fill out based on this if you're interested at all. And what basically I'm wanting to do is an opportunity for you guys to enjoy, learn, and get some motivation from these former students of mine who are now working in the industry. Now, they've proposed a bunch of topics here that I've listed that you can either tell me if you're very interested or not interested or just interested in those subjects. You're no requirement to do this. And then there's a section where you could write in your own topic that you might be interested in learning about. So I just thought that would be something kind of fun to do in these last few weeks of the course as we wrap up and we head into June now. Okay, so today's agenda for here on week 14 of this course will be to complete the classes walks through. So we're going to do one of the classes programming problems, and that should be enough. And then we can actually start looking at graphics. Graphics is an optional unit in the 30S course. You don't have to have graphics in your final project, though I know a lot of you will want to know about graphics. So that's the idea today. Then next week, I hope to complete looking at graphics. And if not, then I'll put a little bit in the week after that. And then at that point, then it'll just be wrapping up the final assessments. At that point, we'll be into June. And then we can talk about final projects or a different type of final assessment that you guys want to do. But let's refocus back on where we are right now. So we're here on the 30S course. We're opening up the classes, programming problems. And today I'm going to do this one with the balloons. Okay, so there's some stuff to read here about what to create and how to make classes. I'm going to make a few modifications to what's written here. That's not a big deal. But I'm definitely going to make a balloons class, and I'm going to make a carnival class. And I believe we had just started that at the end of last week's online class. Okay, so just double check. Yeah. So last week, I heard something there. Okay. So last week we'd set up a project, classes assessment. We made a class called Carnival, a class called Balloon, and the one that had main in it that I just called classes assessment. Okay, so these are just empty classes at this point. Let me open them up and show you what I'm talking about. So here is classes assessment, just simple public static void main in it. Both Carnival and Balloon are essentially empty classes at this point. Okay, so very, very simple. All I'm going to do, the one line of code I'm going to write in main, is to make a carnival. Carnival equals a new carnival. And this is something learned in the classes unit. This is the class, right? That's the name of the class. It's class carnival. This is the name of the object or the instance of that class. It's a object of type carnival. Okay, so I could have called it X, right? Just like any other variable. Sort of like when you say string name, string is the class, name is the object. Okay, new is a keyword that's used to generate new memory. And then this thing here, including the two round brackets, is what's called the constructor method. Okay, also something we learned in the classes unit, that you have this special method called a constructor method that does certain things. And again, that was something I went over last week. in the example, and you can learn about in the videos for that. But anyways, there it is. Carnival, carnival equals new carnival. So now let's focus our attention on the carnival class and make that constructor method. Oops. There we go. Okay, so as a quick review, constructor methods have the exact same name as the class, including the capital letter, which is normally not done on methods, so it matches the name of the class. Constructor methods are public, and the most important thing, they have no return type, not even the word void. The word void is not used in constructor methods. That's what makes them constructor methods. So what happens is when this method is called right here, it jumps over to that class and runs the code in the constructor method. Okay, so let's take a look at what we're going to solve here with this problem. For this carnival, we have to have a little dialog box that says, welcome to the carnival, what would you like to do? What direction would you like to move your balloon? Enter a balloon. Would you like to make a balloon, move a balloon, pop a balloon, or quit? So I'm going to start by putting those options. This game, or this simulator, has a number of options. And I'm going to use something I learned in the arrays unit. I'm going to make an array of options. It's not going to change, so I'm going to lock it in as a constant or a final, all the options of this game. So one of the options would be to make a balloon. Another option would be to move your balloon. The third option would be to pop your balloon. I'm not good at typing. Can't type. Pop your balloon. Too many L's. And then the final option is just to quit. So I'm just going to put those into an array right here at the start. An array that I lock in that I can just use for whatever purpose. So these are the options for this game. Okay. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a bunch of dialog boxes. Now, I could certainly go back to my example from the 30S course to pull up a whole bunch of dialog windows. But I thought since I'm doing this online today, I'd show you guys another option, an option that's available not only for you now, but also for things like your final project. So what I'm going to do is on our website, there's a section of our website called Advice and Help. Okay? It's always been there, and there's a bunch of stuff that over the school closure has been useful, like how to install Netbeans and stuff like that. But what I'm going to do is go down to the bottom of this page, and what it says is, with each unit, I usually go through a walkthrough, okay? And this is when I'm in class. To help if you're not in class or you miss it, I've uploaded a lot of this help to this GitHub site, okay? Some common tasks like inputting a number, giving users a choice from a list. Oh, that's exactly the problem I'm going to encounter right now. Making random numbers, etc. So I've put all these examples online and I've organized them into 4 categories. One would be if you were still at the level of the methods unit, the code in the example sort of just relies on methods. Then the next example would rely on you knowing what arrays are. But this one, number 3, also relies on the fact that you know what classes are. So what I'm going to actually do is just take that example, click on it, and here it is. This gives me some stuff I can use for coding. So for example, some dialogues. So that would give me the dialogues. So I'm going to steal some of that code, essentially. Okay. Oh, cat. All right. So what I'm going to do is to my class, I'm going to add another class. So I'm going to right click here, new, Java class, and to match the name that's in the examples, dialogues. So a class called dialogues. Now let me just strip away some of this weird code that went in here. You don't have to worry about that. Normally when you guys make a class, it will show up like this, just essentially empty, which is fine. Okay, so there's my class dialogues. Now what I'm going to do is go over here, open that file, Dialogs, and I can actually copy and paste the code right out of it. Now I got to be careful. I got to just grab the code from down here. Or another option you can do on GitHub is if you click this button here that just says raw, all it does is it just gives you the code, right? So if you just go raw, you can actually grab the code. And the only line I'm not going to grab is this line about the package, because that's different now with this different project. But everything from here down, I'm going to grab. So I'm going to grab import all this code, copy it, take it over here, and instead of package, I paste it in there, the new package, and all that code's now mine, okay, with comments and everything. So I don't have to worry too much about it, okay. So right over here, there it is, the Dialogs class all set up for me, okay. Now I notice that the Dialogs class is, however, generating an error, and the reason is, if I jump to the error, the Dialogs class also makes use of another class called Numbers to deal with numbers. So I'm going to go back. And sure enough, I should find that class called Numbers in here as well. And again, I don't have to do this. I could have coded a lot of this stuff myself. But a big part now of learning about classes is how you can reuse your code. I'm not going to need this one, I don't think. I'm going to need text. But I'm going to go to Numbers. And I'm going to get its raw code as well. And I'm going to grab everything but the package line on Numbers. And once again, I'm going to go right click, new Java class, Numbers, and get rid of this, and instead paste in this. And now I have a class called Numbers. And I'm not really going to spend time looking at it. If you were to go in and look at these things, what you'd notice is a lot of the code we've already done before. Like some code to make random numbers, stuff that we've already done. Excuse me for 1 second. I'm just going to keep talking and at the same time take care of my cat. Okay. Sorry about that. All right. So now with that all in place, I can use that stuff in my Carnival class because I can take Dialogs, for example, this class I now have as part of my project. And one thing I can do is dot, let me just hit save here. I can change the title of the dialogues. So any dialogue that appears, the title on every dialogue will be the Carnival. That'll be handy. Okay. In this Carnival, I'll need a balloon. So balloon equals new balloon. I'll get to that later. Oops. So that'll be something I'll deal with later. The user will be given a choice. So I'm going to allow a variable to be used to make that choice. And then I'm going to start a do while loop. And while the choice that the user makes dot equals, and the one I'm going to be looking for is the quit option. So options, bracket, and let's do a count. So this would be spot 0 in the array, spot 1, spot 2. This would be spot 3 in the array, quit. So I'm going to say, well, this thing equals false. So while they haven't selected quit, we're going to keep doing a bunch of stuff. When they finally do select quit, I'll leave the loop and dialogs dot, I will create an output saying thanks for visiting, and I'll just, you know what, I can just attach the title, the Carnival, dialogs dot title. So thanks for visiting that. And then I'll just quit at this point. So system dot exit. So the program will shut down at that point. Now, while I'm inside the loop, back up a bit, I better get my choice from the user. So to do that, once again, I'm going to rely on dialogs, because built into dialogs is a series of methods, including one called choices that I built for you, where it takes some text and a bunch of options. And if I look at what that, because I did the Java documentation, presents an input box with a drop-down selection of options. The text to show in the dialog, and options is the array to have in the drop-down. Ooh, that sounds perfect. So the text would be, welcome to the carnival. What, oops, let's down a line here. Would you like to do? Question mark. And then all the options will appear. So I want to kind of just run this right now to give a feel for what this would look like. And again, I've reused a bunch of code here, code that you have seen before, okay? But it has been a while, right, since you've seen this code. So anyways, let's see what the carnival code looks like now. And this is obviously code that's been building up over the course of the year. All right, so there it is. I've made a dialog box that says, welcome to the carnival, what would you like to do? And a drop-down list that has my array in it of make a balloon, move your balloon, pop, and quit, okay? If I just pick an option other than quit, it stays in the loop. But if I say quit, it leaves the loop and then just does a simple output saying, thanks for visiting the carnival, which is right there, right? Like I've already done that. Just to show you one other little thing that was automatically done, that where we changed the title on the dialog, and you can see that title is showing up not only here, but when I quit, the title's also showing up here, which is really handy. Okay, so this just speeds up our timeline a little bit. All right, so now I've got other choices, because if the choice dot equals what's in options at spot 0 to make a balloon, then my balloon object, which is the object created right here, that's the object, so I'm going to use that object. I'm going to call one of the methods in there, and I know I don't have any methods in there, but I will make a method to create a balloon. So that's how I'll do that. So there will be a method called create inside that class. Okay, else, if the choice equals option 1 to move your balloon, I will make a method called move that will move the balloon. Okay. And I accidentally erased a bracket there. There we go. Okay. Else if it's option 2. Oh, I know what I did wrong. I used the wrong bracket right there. Brackets, brackets, brackets. Okay, so now if it's option 2, I'm going to make a method called pop the balloon. And that's really all I need, right? Because the third option, or the fourth option, quit, I deal with down here. So that would be it for the entire Carnival class. The Carnival class requires a constructor method, which, just to quickly review, sets up a bunch of options for the game, uses a dialogues class that we didn't have to write, which is to kind of bring it into our project, put the title on the dialogue, create a balloon, we're going to get to that next, store a choice later, use a loop, you can see right here, that keeps looping while it's not at option 3, which is to quit. Keep looping, looping, looping. When they do choose option 3, just create an output dialog saying thanks for visiting, and then quit the program. And inside the loop, bring up a drop-down of choices saying, welcome to the carnival, what would you like to do? Use the options up here in those choices. And then depending on if it was option 0, 1, or 2, I will go to my balloon object, which again was the one I created right here, and I will call one of these 3 methods, which obviously, because of the red underline, aren't there yet. But here's another cool thing. I can actually use the light bulb to create those methods, even though it's in another class. So I'm using the light bulb 3 times. I said create those methods. So now when I jump over to the balloon class, there they are, sitting there waiting for me to work on them. So that's kind of a cool feature, right? So at this point, the Carnival class would be done. And let's just, again, run it, make sure it does run at this point. It won't do these three things, but at least they appear in the dialog when the Carnival first starts, right? So welcome to the Carnival. There are my options. And as we've already seen, if I hit quit, it's over, okay? All right. To complete this, now I need to work on my balloon class and all it does. So again, reading back from the original description of this problem, we can get some information about what we're creating in the balloon class. And why that's taking a second for that to load. It's going to open up my Pepsi. Okay, so as you can see, we've made this. This is done. Now we're going to be making this stuff, right? Where the dialogue appears with that sort of stuff in it. But also, if you read through this, you can get some stuff in here that you use a string to hold the name, a color, and a direction, and stuff like that. So let's just get started on this. Okay, so the first thing the balloon class is going to have is classes have properties. I'm going to encapsulate, or make these private, a string for the name of this balloon. I'm going to also make a string for the direction this balloon is traveling. And finally, another string for the color of this balloon. So these will store what the user chooses. So if the user chooses a name, a direction, and a color, I will remember them in these three properties. I'm also going to make a private final string array of all the possible directions that this balloon can go. So I'm not going to give them every possible direction in the world. Okay, so up obviously would be one, down, left, and finally right. There are 4 directions for this balloon could travel. I'm also going to limit the number of colors they have by doing the same kind of thing, copy, paste, but call it colors. Using an American spelling, I guess. And I'll make like blue, red, yellow, and green. There. So this balloon, its properties, not its methods, are 3 string variables and 2 string arrays that I'll be using. Okay. In addition to these 3 methods, I'm also going to write a balloon constructor. Public balloon. Again, we talked about what a constructor is. And if you read the description, it says when a balloon is first made, the name of the balloon is just floaty. That's its default name. The default direction it's traveling is up. And an easy way to do that is to go to directions at spot 0. Oops. Spot 0 in the array is up. Okay, so that works nice. So the default name is floaty. The default direction is 0. The default color, it doesn't state which it is, but I'm going to use the same idea. I'm just going to go to colors at spot 0, which I believe is blue. So blue will be the default color. And another thing I'm going to use with the balloon is, once again, I'm going to use the Dialogs class. And this time with the Dialogs class, I'm going to preset the background color of the dialogues to be C color dot white. These are built-in constants of the color class. Color class is not one we had to write, it's imported for us. Little bit of graphic stuff, we're going to see more of that in the next unit, but just kind of a neat way to make that white. That would not be necessary to solve this problem, but let me just show you now that I've changed the dialog color to white in the background. Okay, just to show you. Is that not running? I thought it was running. Oh, there it is. There, you can kind of see it now, that the background color right there is white. Okay, anyways. there you can see the white as well, right? The white there in the background now. Okay. That way it matches more along the lines of what was happening right here where it was white. Anyways, not necessary, just showing you a little bit there with that. Okay. Now that the constructor's done, now I'm going to go and I'm just going to pop that word onto the front of these three methods and write code for these three methods, how they work. Okay? The biggest one will be the create method. With the create method, I have to get the name for this balloon. So here again, I can use dialogs. And there's a built-in little input method, which asks the user with an input dialog box. And all I have to do is give it what text it's going to display. So enter balloon name. So many L's. Okay. So there, that's how I get the balloon's name. And for the color, I could also use that type of dialog, but I'm going to use one I've already used before. I'm going to use the choices one and ask them to select a color. This down a line. Select the color. Actually, select a balloon color. Let's do that. And doing too much at once here. Okay, so it would be select a balloon color, and this would come from not that array, but the array of colors. There, so it will ask them to select a balloon color out of the array of colors. Okay, and at this point, I'm just going to show you what that looks like, even though it won't really do it. Okay, when I go and create a balloon, make a balloon, here you can see the dialog box for input appears where I can enter a balloon name, whatever name I put in there. And then the next one is, again, a choices drop down where I select the color. Okay, so it's kind of nice. You can just do that. Now what I'm going to do is if the color they selected dot equals what's in colors at spot 0, that means blue, then dialog dot the foreground color, not the background, but the color of the text, equals capital C color dot blue, which is a built-in color in that right there. So there, I can make it blue instantly. And, oops, little copy paste for the 4 others, else if, okay, extra spacing. So if I'm at dialog 1 or 2 or 3 in the array, and now I can see again what they are up here for this thing. For this, I actually want to teach you a cool little Netbeans trick. There is an option under View to split the Netbeans view window, either vertically or horizontally. I'm going to split it vertically, okay? So right here, I can have a little window open that's the same thing, so I can see the colors right there. So this makes it a little easier, so I can see, oh, that was then red, this one was then yellow, and this one was green, by just looking down here while I'm doing this, okay? And when I'm done with the split, I can just drag it away and it's gone. I can also under split clear it off if I needed to. Okay, so it would have done all of these things. Set the color, and then finally what I'm going to do is show the balloon, which I'm going to make a little method to do this, to show a balloon, create that method show, and that method will be a private method. Okay, something in classes that you don't see very often, private methods to show off what the balloon looks like. Okay, but we're going to do it. To show the balloon, one line of code is all is needed. Into dialogs, dot, I use a output method again, and the text I'm going to display is balloon, too many L's, colon, and I'm actually going to put a tab as well, and then the balloon's name, and then a line break, /n line break. And then, moving down a line, floating, colon, and a tab, and direction that the balloon is traveling. And I'm just basing this off of what you see right here, right? Like that's what it's going to show, the name of the balloon and which direction that it's floating. And so every time I want to show a balloon, that's what's going to happen. So let's see now how that works. So I'm going to make a balloon. I'm going to call it Dave. And I'm going to make it color red. And there you can see that it's appearing in red. And by default, it's floating up. But the name has stuck with it. Okay, which is good. So that's already starting to pay off using that dialogs class. Otherwise, I'd keep rewriting that J-option pane code, which is just fine, but this is a little bit simpler. Okay, so that was my big method, how to create a balloon. The other two are actually pretty simple. Okay, for move, all I do is I say the direction of this balloon equals, okay, and it's a lot of the same code again, dialogs dot, I'm going to put up some choices. I'm going to say, what direction would you like to move your balloon? Question mark. And I'd give all the directions. That looks good. Okay. And then I would show my balloon. Okay. So that'll allow me to move it and then show it right after I move it. Let's test that method, the move method. So make a balloon, Dave, color blue. There it is. Now I want to move my balloon. Which direction? I'm going to have it go left. And now when it shows it, you can see that the name is still there, but now it's floating left. And let's move it again. This time let's move it down. And now you can see it's showing that it's floating down. Okay, pretty simple problem. Well, it's actually not that simple. The classes unit is all pretty tough. But we haven't had to write a lot of code here to get this to work. We're reusing some code. All right, and finally to pop it, this is actually the easiest one of all. Dialogs dot, I can just output that balloon and then attach the name of that balloon and then attach the words goes pop, exclamation point. So that balloon goes pop. And I think that could be it. Let's just run it again and see if we've got this whole problem solved. So it starts off, welcome to the carnival. What would you like to do? I'm not sure what happens if I hit cancel there. Yeah, luckily it didn't crash, but if I try to move a balloon before I make one and move it up, you notice that the default name floaty is still there, okay? But now I'm going to make a balloon called Sarah, and I'm going to make it yellow. There it is. I'm going to make a different balloon. I'm going to make it Dave, and I'll make this one blue, and I'll change the direction. And this time it'll go left, and it works. And finally I will pop the balloon, and the balloon Dave goes pop, and I will quit. And that's kind of it. So I'm just going to go back and relook at all this code. So we started with the classes assessment with one line. And if you are watching this video after the fact, you can certainly pause it at this point to create a carnival. Okay. At that point, we jumped all our code over to the carnival class. But before I go through the carnival class, we created two classes, dialogues and numbers. And rather than write all the code for that, what I suggested you guys can do is to go onto my GitHub site, which if you look on our website under help, there we go, under the advice and help section, and then you scroll down to these pieces here. I'm using the one from the classes unit, which obviously the code's a little more advanced at that point than the ones up here. And I just took that code and it opened it right in GitHub. And I went in to the various classes that I needed. So I needed these two. I didn't need these two. And I opened them. So for example, I open Dialogs, and you can do it multiple ways, but I basically just copied this code, okay, right out of here. And you can do it right on this page, or like I did, you can click on the word raw, which means now it's just the code itself. And other than the package line, which we need to leave because, or if you do copy the package line, you'll have to change it because it'll be part of your project now. Okay, so you just copy that and paste those in. So you have a dialogues class and you have a numbers class. You can change them if you want, but then I can use those in my Carnival class. So the Carnival class made an array, notice the square brackets, of the options. It changed the title of the dialogue. It created a new balloon. It made a string for a choice and then started a loop. Inside the loop, it used the dialogues again to ask them which option they'd like to use. It used a if statement inside the loop to see which of those 0, 1, or 2 options to create, move, or pop that balloon. And then the end of the while loop was, while it wasn't at option 3, which was quit, keep looping. And then when it's done looping, say thanks for visiting and exit by again using something in the dialogues class. Then we finish the code by jumping to the balloon class. We created 3 string properties and 2 string arrays that are constant or final. Notice the array. And all of these are private, or in other words, encapsulated in the class. And then we wrote a series of methods. A constructor method, which sets some of the properties to default values and sets a background color for the dialogues class. This again is built in. You don't have to write this code. It's kind of there for you. We wrote a little create method, which creates a balloon by asking the user for a name and a color. Again, using built-in methods in the dialogues class, using an if statement that based on which color they chose, 0, 1, 2, or 3, it would set the foreground in the dialogues class to, again, one of those settings. Okay? And then it calls a little private method called show. The private method show just uses, again, the output method of the dialogues class to display this. If you don't want to use a dialogues class, you could certainly say jOptionPane.showMessageDialog and it would do the same thing. Okay? Also, you can see here the pop method essentially does the same thing. Displays the balloon along with its name, goes pop. And then finally, the move method, which does that as well. Okay, I think I'm going to stop there today for everybody. And next week, just to go back to our sort of agenda. So I'll put this video up, which is a complete walkthrough on the classes problem, okay? The graphics example, I think I'll start next week and accelerate the pace through that. And that'll probably either, you know what, actually, maybe I will start it a little bit today. I think I will start a little bit of it today, just briefly, not really go over any content. And then we can dive right into it next week and get a whole bunch done that way. Okay, so yeah, I think I will. All right, but that's the classes assessment for those who were looking for a way to get through that classes assessment. There it is. Okay, so I'm going to close all that. And go back to our 30S example. When we last left it off, in our main method, we were learning about classes. Today, in our main method, we're going to learn about graphics, which is optional. So I'm going to comment out learn classes. We're not going to do that. And instead of making a method to learn graphics, I'm going to actually make an entire class called Learn Graphics. Learn Graphics equals new Learn Graphics. So this will in theory, be an entire class called Learn Graphics, just as a review of classes like we just saw. Now again, with the light bulb, I can actually use it to create that class, which it'll do automatically for me, which I could also just make the new class myself, okay? And let me strip away some of the code from Learn Graphics. Okay, there it is. We'll put public at the front of this. Okay, and all I'm going to put in Learn Graphics is a constructor. So when this launches, it will launch this, which will do the work, okay? So in a way, I'm leaving our example that we've been working on since the beginning of the course. From intro to Java through methods, arrays, and classes. All the code was in this class. When we got to learn classes, though, then we started using some other classes over here. And now I'm going to go over to Learn Graphics and put the rest of the example in there. So back into Learn Graphics. Okay? So what I'm going to do today is the first thing we're going to do is once again make another class called Graphics1. And that's where we'll start next time. So when I go and build a Learn Graphics, it's going to build something called Graphics1. Using the light bulb, create the class, and strip it down for now. And there it is. So, and yeah, we'll be doing constructors and all that as well. Actually, why don't we? Why don't we make the constructor? Okay. Now, this is code that actually I wouldn't recommend in the example, but here is where I make graphics 1. Okay. I'll delete that later. Back here in Learn Graphics, I'm going to start learning graphics. And then down here, space. I'm done learning graphics. This is the same sort of stuff we did when we were doing it with methods. So I start learning graphics, make a graphics 1, then I'm done learning graphics. When I'm in graphics 1, that's where I will make it. So the original main method launches Learn Graphics, another class, launches its constructor method right here, does an output, which then runs graphics 1, its constructor method, which does an output, then comes back and does this output, and let's just see what our example would look like at this point. It should just be 3 lines of output. And there it is, 3 lines of output. That's all it does. Alrighty, that will be a good place to stop. That way this is set up for starting to learn graphics next week, which is on our agenda. So we just got a brief touch of that for getting started for next week. All right, everybody, I'm going to wrap up today. Again, quick thing to, if you have some time, look at the guest lecture series, see if there is something you want to contribute on that form. I'm excited about that. Those should be some really cool opportunities for you guys to just watch some neat lectures from some professionals in the industry. And at that point, I'm going to, stop sharing my screen with you guys. Yeah. And wish you guys well. Okay. All right. That's it for this week. You guys have a good day, and I will see you next week at the same time. Feel free to email me if you have any questions or issues.